Welcome to Paranormal Nightshift, your home for all things that go bump in the dark and your fan stories told here. Today's story comes in from Tanya and is called 100 Years for Justice. There's always a story behind a missing person's case. People don't just go missing. Nowadays, with social media and everything like that, it's probably easier to find someone. But in the early 1920s, before modern technology, the idea that somebody could just run off, disappear, and start over again, well, it wasn't unheard of. Especially in very rural farm towns. In fact, you hear tons of stories of people just starting over. Eli Livingston, that was the name that was on the house that we had just moved into. The Livingston Estate, as it was called. A home that was built in the early 1920s, huge wraparound porch, stone columns that led outside. The house looked like it was from Gone with the Wind, and I guess had been in the town forever. Eli Livingston was the mayor of this town, kind of the unofficial founder, if it was. Not much was known about him other than he moved to the town, started a couple companies and factories, and built this beautiful house. When we moved in, the paranormal activity started almost automatically. My daughter, who was 6 at the time, started having very vivid dreams and would sleepwalk, always down to the basement. But in the morning, she never remembered any of it. We would wake her and bring her back to her room, and she would always tell us about the little girl. There's a little girl here, Mommy. She wants to play with me. And I tried to pull up history on the house, but nothing. Other than that Eli Livingston had lived here. He had built the house with his bare hands. He had moved here, built the house, nothing about any sort of paranormal past. Everything that we got was just that he lived here. Then the house sat vacant after he passed away, and we were the second owners. But for months, my daughter would have these very vivid dreams. She would wake up and tell us all about the little girl. There's a little girl here, Mommy, and she wants to play with us. We have to find her. She's hiding. My husband was far more into the paranormal beliefs than I was. Something was trying to communicate with our daughter. He followed her one night to the basement, and she began to dig. She began to dig down into the basement. My husband stood by and watched. We were going to find whatever she was looking for. What was it? But we found nothing. It was a root cellar down in the basement. That's all it was. There was nothing else to be found. But again, the paranormal activity continued. Sightings of the little girl. Full body apparitions of this girl walking around our house, asking for help. We contacted a medium and a spiritualist. We did everything that we could to try to communicate with her. During the seance, the words dig continued to come out. Dig, dig. We've already dug. There's a root cellar. Where else do we need to go? Where do you need us to look? Dig. We dug again down at the root cellar until we hit something this time. A crate. A crate with human remains and news articles about Jacob Higgins. Jacob Higgins had murdered his wife and had escaped Colorado with his daughter. The picture, the sketch, and the news article looked just like Eli Livingston. We can only assume that it was the same person. After all these years, she was not going to let her father get away with what he had done. Now that was a fan story that was sent to me about town urban legends. So please tell me, what is your town's urban legend? Also, don't forget, Paranormal Nightshift will be in Savannah in October. So please, if you have any Savannah stories, send them in, and you might make it on the next episode of Paranormal Nightshift.